In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how the Elementor Pro nav menu element works, all the settings that are associated with it, and how to create a cool looking nav menu. And we're getting started right now. Hey, what is going on? My name is Bjorn. If you like WordPress tips and tricks and always getting better at it, make sure you click subscribe, then the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. And this video is part of the Elementor Pro playlist in this channel. Link in the description down below or part of the comments down below. Make sure you check out the whole playlist to see all the widgets in action. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you get on the Elementor Pro Ultimate Course waitlist, which I'm building right now. I'm still in the process of building it. It's not completed yet. Getting on the waitlist is no obligation. But if you do like Elementor and you want to know how to do everything with it, get on that waitlist. Link in the description down below. And with that out of the way, let's head into screen capture. I'll see you there. In a previous Elementor tutorial, we built a complete website using the free version of Elementor. That website's here. It lives on this domain, elementor2019.com. You can go check it out right now. It's a live site. Most of the links and buttons don't work because I know where to link them to when I built the site. They may be working by the time you get here. I'm not sure. The links up here work so you navigate to different pages. And like I said, check out that tutorial if you want to check out more details on how to build a site with the free version of Elementor. In this tutorial, we're going to cover Elementor Pro. So if you click on here, right now, we have a blank page. And on this page, we're going to build out every single Elementor Pro widget that comes with Elementor Pro. So I'm going to click on Edit with Elementor. If you're building a brand new page, you can go to Pages and then Add New. Click on Edit with Elementor after you add a title first, save a draft, then click on Edit with Elementor. If you go to all your pages to see your whole page list, Elementor Pro page here, we can click on Edit with Elementor. You can also click this down arrow, Add New with Elementor. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can create a new page with Elementor Pro and Elementor Free as well. That shows them all these places. I'm just going to go out here, click on Edit with Elementor here. That'll take us into the builder. Now the very first thing I'm going to do is build out the top section of the site, which is going to be the navigation, because that's how most websites start. So I'm going to click on plus. I'm going to choose a full section. I'm going to click on these 6 dots right here. Make sure in the section settings. I'm going to stretch it so it goes the full width of the element, and I'm going to make the site content full width. You'll notice when I change this from box, this dotted line in here, it goes from this width to the entire width. And that means that section is going to be full width. There's some padding as well that we'll get rid of, or that you can get rid of depending on what you want to do. But inside of here, we're going to add a navigation menu. So I'm going to click on the grid icon and look for navigation menu. This is a pro level widget. The free one has a WordPress menu option, which we used in the free tutorial. The pro version has the nav menu option, which you can style and make look exactly how you want really, really easily. The WordPress version, it's not so easy. So the pro version makes this a lot easier. So you can choose your menu from this drop down here. If you don't have a menu yet, you'd head out to your main dashboard, go to Appearance, and then Menus. Click on Create New Menu, or this would be a blank area. So I click on Create New Menu here. This is how yours may look if you're just starting out. Enter a name, like Demo Menu. And you can choose all the pages you want to appear on here by just checking these boxes. This is the most recent page list. View All would be a list of all your pages. Search will help you find pages that aren't on that list. You can add posts, you can add custom links, you can add categories. And if you have other things installed on your site, the specific plugins and custom post types, you can actually have more options in here. But I'm just going to show you how to add these ones. So I'm just going to add these. Click on Add to Menu. Could have clicked Select All, make them a bit faster. You can drag and drop these around to reorder them. You can make them sub-items. So if I wanted services to be a sub-item of the homepage, just drag it over like that. You see that dotted box moving over? That will now be a drop-down menu on the actual menu. And then when you're ready, click on Save. And then if you go back to Elementor, and you have to refresh this page at that point, make sure you save it. So click on Update. And then you can refresh, and then you'll have the new menu as an option under menus here. And this is how it looks with the default styling, and it looks pretty good already. And we can align it differently. So we can have it left line, which is now, center, right, or stretched all the way across. Just going to get rid of this navigator for now. Stretches all the way across. I usually have my menus, well, it varies, but you'll figure out where you want to have them. The layout you can make vertical, like this if you want. You can also make the whole thing a drop-down. This is commonly what you'd see on mobile, a hamburger menu that you can drop down like that. And you can customize the settings there as well, which we'll do in a minute. But first, let's just customize the look of our menu. So what we want to do, or what I want to do in this case, is I want a nice big header image in the background and have my menu over top of that, because I think that's pretty snazzy, pretty stylish these days. I get my free images from a place called Pixabay. So I'm going to pixabay.com. And I usually head over to Editor's Choice. And then I find myself, hopefully find myself, an appropriate image to have in the background. You also search for images. This one looks pretty good. Click on Free Download. I'm going to choose this size. This one's way too big, and you have to have a free account with Pixabay to get the full size. So I choose a 1920. Click on Download. Click on I'm Not a Robot. And now we have our image on our hard drive. And if I head back in Elementor Pro, I can now add that image as a background on a new section. So if I click on plus here, go to sections again, make sure it's stretched, full width, go to style, click on classic background, click on image. Then we want to find the image that we just downloaded. I'm going to show that in Finder. Drag and drop it into here. Now we have our nice image up here. Click on Insert Media. And now we have our image. Not quite what we expected. We have to make this element bigger, or this section bigger. We do that by going to Layout, and then Height, Min Height, and give it a minimum height of something that's pleasing. And we can adjust this later. So for now, let's just give it a min height of 732 for this image so we can see more of it, and we can change that later, like I said. Now we want to move this element or this section behind our menu, and we do that by going to Advanced, unchecking this link, and adding negative margin at the top. So if I add -50, getting pretty close, let's try 60, 67, that's pretty good. So now we have our image behind our menu. That's pretty slick. Now the trouble is we can't select our image section anymore. When you hover over sections, you have these 6 dots that appear that are very difficult to select at the moment, even for the menu, because there's one section behind another and the plugin or the software gets a little confused. So you want to open the navigator, which is this little stacked icon down here. And now, if you recall, this first section is the nav menu, as you can see in the ordered list here. So let's just click on this section. Let's rename it to navigation. Click on this section, rename it to header image. And now this is how we can select the sections and work with them separately. Now I want to make some changes to our nav menu up here. So we open the navigation menu section in the navigator and click on nav menu, or if you can click on it up here, and that will open the settings for the navigation menu. And we started a little bit with the vertical and horizontal and drop down and the alignment, but there's a lot more that we can do. The pointer option changes what appears when we hover over things. So right now it's set to underline. We can set it to overline, which puts a line on the top. And the page you're currently on is active with that pointer by default. Double line, that's pretty snazzy. Framed, which is a look I kind of like. Background, I like that look as well. And then just the text. And we have the animation, as you can see, it grows a little bit. The animation you can change right below that. So if you don't want it to grow, you just want to have the color on hover, just change that to none. Or pick any one of these that you like. Float, for example. The words float, or they bounce up, I guess. I'm going to choose underline. It's a pretty classic way of doing it. Actually, I'm going to choose framed. I don't choose this very often for websites, but I kind of like the look of it. And fade is, let's see, draw. Draw is probably pretty cool. I kind of like draw. I'm going to keep on draw. Submenu indicator. Right now we don't have a submenu here, so So I'm just going to add one. If I go back into my menus, go to my main nav, which is this one that we're working on, and I'm going to create a custom link. I'm just going to call this drop down. That could be confusing. Let's call this portfolio. No real link, just make it a hashtag. And I'm going to add this underneath services. Click on save menu. Come back into Elementor. Save what we have so far. Refresh the page. Now we have our new menu showing up and we have our drop down. And that icon is what we're talking about when we said submenu indicator. So right now it's a downwards pointing triangle. You can have it a chevron, which looks like this. You can have an angle, which looks very similar to a chevron, just thinner, or a plus icon, plus sign, or none at all. I wouldn't recommend none because then people don't know there's something there. So definitely choose something if you have a drop down. I'm going to put it on the angle because it's nice and slim. The mobile breakpoint, this is where the menu changes from text menu like this to a hamburger icon. We'll get to mobile in a minute when we actually start designing for mobile. I'm just going to finish the design for the desktop. Let's go to style. Let's change our typography. And typography just means the text. So we're changing the text. We're going to change the text size by dragging this icon or this little dragger here. I'm going to choose Open Sans because that is one of the most commonly used fonts on the internet. Maybe that's a reason not to use it, actually. So there we go, size 18. You can change the weight. Most fonts have a bold and a normal. Some fonts have additional finer tuning through 100 to 900. So you can have a 200 font, what looks like Open Sans has it. So 100 looks just like a 200. But a 500 is a bit thicker, 700 even thicker, and a 900 even thicker. So some fonts have those options, some don't. I'm going to keep mine on normal. Transform, this is how the text, the words themselves are transformed, the letters themselves are transformed. So you can have uppercase, makes all the letters uppercase. All lowercase, all capitalized, and normal, which is no change. And default is whatever the Elementor settings are set to as default. Style, normal, italic, and oblique. Oblique is another word for italic, but some fonts kind of take the italic lean to an extreme, and that will be oblique. Depends on the font. I'm going to keep mine as normal. Decoration is what's under the text. So we can have an underline, which if we customize our draw element or have an underline that appears, it's kind of silly to have another one, so I wouldn't do that. You have a line through, also strange. Overline, also not perfect. Depends on your design, but I wouldn't use these for most designs. We can change the line height. This becomes important when we add a logo, which we're going to do in just a minute. And the toggle button, this is the hamburger icon that appears when we shrink the menu, and we'll get to that when we do the mobile editing. But first, I want to change the color. Stop talking, start doing. The text color here, I'm going to change it to white. Text color on hover stays as white, and that's okay. Maybe I want to change it to like a slight gray, so you notice a tiny difference. That's too tiny. That's a bit of difference. The pointer color, which is currently on mine, is the drawn square or drawn rectangle. I want to change that to white as well. And I changed my mind on hover. Going to keep the color as white. That's a pretty slick looking menu so far. Active is the active one. So if you wanted the active color to be, say, orange, let's see if we can get orange in here. Maybe keep the text for the active color white. Change the pointer to orange. See, that looks pretty slick. At least it stands out. And I'm going to add another column to this section so that I can add a logo. And I'm going to add the logo to the right. Usually I add the logo to the left, but I want to show you something very important when we adjust for mobile. So I'm going to add to the left. So I'm going to right click on this column icon. I'm going to click on add new column. Now we have a new column. I'm going to shrink its size. And I'm going to add an image. I'm going to click on that section or click on this grid up here, choose image, drag and drop it in, choose image over here. I'm going to add my logo and add a small version of my logo. And as you can see, it's behind our header image. So what we do to fix that is we go to advanced, go to Z index, enter the number 1. Now it goes above. And the section, the header image section is also too low now. So I want to move the header back up. And I do that by adjusting this margin to increase it. And there we go. Now our header's back up there. And right now, I'm going to float this to the right, align it to the right. We see that our menu and our logo is not really aligned. So they're not centered with each other. So under advanced, I'm going to add padding to the top of the menu. Just going to add 10 pixels. And use my arrow keys to up one by one. And that looks pretty good. And I'm going to change my Elementor highlight color to yellow. The box, the drawn box around it to yellow, because we have a yellow in our logo. And that might look pretty good. There we go. I'm going to flow this menu back to the left. And now we have our menu. You can even stretch it in this section so it spans across that entire section if you want. I'm going to keep mine to the left. And now we have a pretty stylish header. What we want to work on, actually first I'm going to change something for the header image. Go to the header image section and open it and click on the column background image. So we want to have a background overlay. And I want to add a gradient. And then for the gradient, we choose 2 colors. Obviously, otherwise it wouldn't be a gradient. So I'm going to choose blue. And of course, it defaults to this Elementor pink color. I'm going to take green instead. That's pretty intense. Let's do it like that. Let's change the opacity to tone that down a little bit. We can change the angle, which I'm going to up the opacity again so you can see what I'm doing here. So the angle, if we have a more intense blue up here. So the angle, if you watch, it's actually purple, that's okay. The angle, if you watch the gradient, the angle changes where the gradient direction is coming from. So you can change it to have it sideways, which is pretty snazzy. And then you can change the location. So more green, if you change the location for the green one or the second one, change the location for the first one, it's more of the first one, right down to a straight line. So I'm going to put it to this, put the opacity, the opacity down to there. So it's just barely noticeable. But here we have a nice little image overlay that back in the day you had to do in a photo editing program. Now you can do it right inside Elementor. So to look at how this looks on mobile, let's just go to the navigation section, because that's the part on mobile that usually gets destroyed the most. And if we click on, in the bottom left down here, we have something called responsive mode. Go to tablet, and we see how this website looks on tablet. Go to mobile, look, that's how it looks on a mobile phone. So if we go to tablet, we see our menu is gone. And more likely than not, it's because our menu is behind our header, because our menu is within this section up here, this blue outline. The menu is there, it's just behind the header image. We do the same thing we did for the logo, which is we click on the navigation menu, go to advanced, change the Z index to 1. I chose 2, let's make it 1. So there's our menu right there. We want to change its positioning and its color as well. But when we are on tablet mode, we see that we have these 3 icons appear beside certain settings. If you choose the desktop, any changes you make apply only to the desktop. Choose tablet, any changes you make apply only to tablet. Choose mobile, changes only apply to mobile. So that's pretty nifty, that option. So I'm going to try to get this menu up a little bit. So I'm going to change the padding and margin to 0. And now we have our menu back up. And I also want to change its color. So if I go to Style, go to Toggle button at the bottom, change its color to white, change the background color to white. That's not going to work, is it? Let's change the color to gray for the actual hamburgers. There we go. When we hover, we can change colors as well. So when we hover, it doesn't do anything right now. If we click on it, it opens our menu. And our menu pushes down our background, as we can see right now. That may not be what you want, so we'll fix that in just a minute. But now at least we have our menu appearing, and we can do a lot of similar things as we did before. We can change the alignment, and the alignment will actually change on all screens, not just the tablet. But down below we have mobile drop-down options. So we can have it go full width. So if you click on this now, the menu is full width, and that fixes our drop-down problem. When we saw earlier, here it pushes down the header. If we go full width, it does not drop down the header. And we also have our drop-down option here. Click on that, shows our drop-down. We can change the toggle button to be nothing at all. So the menu is always on. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd have the hamburger button. You can change the hamburger alignment. This one changes just for the hamburger, whereas up here, the main alignment changes it for all devices. This is just for when the hamburger appears, which is usually on tablet and mobile. So you can have that appear where it needs to. Now I'm pretty happy with this menu area. And on mobile, we have our menu above and our logo down below, and that might be okay. But there is a cool option inside Elementor that we're going to activate in just a minute. First, we're going to set the settings how we want them. So we have our full drop down again, which is just how we want it. We want to move the header section up a little bit, the header image, because it's too low. So we're set to just mobile. Going to unlink these values and going to change this to, let's go -100. Let's use our arrow keys to go right to the top. There we go. That looks much better. But I don't like the logo below the menu. This is why I created the logo on the right-hand side and the menu on the left for the desktop, because when you're transitioning to a responsive design to go on mobile, the column on the right always goes below the column on the left. Always, that's just how it works. But in Elementor, we can reverse it. So if we click on this responsive option here, we can go to reverse columns for tablet and reverse columns for mobile. So click on yes, and that was the wrong one. Got to actually click on the correct section. So go to navigation, go to advanced then responsive, then reverse columns on mobile. Now we have our logo at the top and our icon at the bottom, our menu icon. And this logo might be a little too big for mobile. So if we go to style, we should be able to change the width for mobile. So here we're on mobile. Let's change the width to something a little smaller, a little more manageable. That's a bit better. And even if you have a logo this small, you could have them side by side on mobile. There's no reason you couldn't do that. But now we have our nice little menu, and we have our logo up there. It's looking pretty good. So if we go back to desktop, let's actually add some content about this header image. Go to this grid. Let's choose a heading. Let's type in all Elementor Pro elements. Let's put that in the center. Let's go to style. Let's change it to white. And let's make it bigger. And then down below that, we're going to add a button. Drag and drop that in there. I'm going to call this button Get Elementor Pro. Center the button. You can choose color templates here if you like. Not many options, but inside the typography or inside the style area with the button options, you can change a lot of things. I'm going to change the background color of this button to something that's a little more stands outsy. I'm going to change it actually to the background color or the square color, the pointer color. Let me get the right one. The pointer color around the Elementor Pro. So we're going to copy that, click on this button again, style, and then paste it in here. Let's change the font color, text color to dark E gray. Let's make it bigger. I'm going to add an icon, go back to content here, select an icon. I'm going to make this, let's make it an arrow that points to the right. And I'm going to make it after the text. I'm going to add some space. And there we go. Now we have a headline, Elementor Pro, call to action, and let's go back to mobile. Let's see how it looks on a tablet. Maybe a little big. Maybe I want to shrink that a little bit. We can go ahead and go to style, go to typography. We're set to tablet right now. We can shrink the button size. There we go. Let's shrink the text a little bit, go to style, make sure on tablet, shrink the size so it fits all on one line. And if we go to mobile, got to shrink it again. So let's shrink it to right about, I don't mind if it goes on 2 lines on mobile, right about that big. And the button's pretty good. And I kind of like having the background be full width on mobile. So all the important things like get Elementor are above the fold. So now we have our header done, menu done. And also consider buying Elementor through the affiliate link down below. It doesn't cost you any more to purchase it that way, but Elementor does send me a few dollars commission, which helps me keep these glorious lights on.